Shannon, the Lakers did not end up acquiring Kyle Lowry as many expected. The point guard stayed with the Raptors after Toronto reportedly declined LA's offer for Dennis Schroeder, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, THT, and Alfonso McKinney. The Lakers are now left to work the buyout market to improve their roster before the playoffs. So, Shannon, what do you think happened here?
Well, what I'm thinking happened is not what you read. I heard the sticking point was THT. They were not willing to put him in any trade, and so that was the sticking point. They were willing to part with Dennis Schroeder. They were willing to part with KCP. But when it came to THT, what my NBA sources have told me, that was a no-go. And so that's why Toronto pulled the offer from the Lakers, and no one else could even meet that standard. But for me, Skip, when I look at it, is Kyle Lowry that much of an upgrade over Dennis Schroeder? I don't believe he is. And you're talking about a 35-year-old rental. That's what he's going to be. You're not going to give him, he wanted assurances, whomever traded for him was going to give him 2 years at least $25 million a year. That's no way the Lakers are going to do that. So for me, I don't think he was going to be an upgrade, sure, but I'd love to have him. Sure, but was he going to change the life of the Lakers? I don't believe he was. Maybe he was going to help them tread water a little better until LeBron and them get back, Skip. But I believe the sticking point is THT, a 20-year-old with tremendous upside. I remember listening to Pat Riley talk. He's like, we couldn't get rid of Duncan Robinson. We couldn't get rid of Tyler Hero. Skip, one's 21, the other 22, 23. They're good players right now. We think they're going to be great. And that was just, we weren't willing to take that chance. They believe THT can be really, really good. So you're going to part ways with a 20-year-old for a 35-year-old rental? Because that's what he is, Skip, that's a rental. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I remember when you used to go to the airport, Skip, get a car. I mean, I had a little money back then. I get a fancy car. One costs like $100 a day. You know, back then, Skip, you get $95, $99, or you get the $39 special. And I ain't know any better, Skip, but I'll floss it. Then it dawned on me one day, you do realize you're in a rental. You're going to have to take this thing back. Yep. So instead of spending $100 plus tax on a car, get you something that's practical, $39, $40, and be happy with it. That's what Kyle Lowry was. He was going to be a rental, and you're going to give up guys with tremendous upside, THT. Now, also one of the things, Skip, with Schroeder, they've been haggling back and forth. Schroeder's going to want a max contract. I'm not so sure the Lakers believe he's a max player. So that's what the sticking point is. So that's why they were willing to part with him. And it's still not a foregone conclusion that they're going to sign him. They might sign and trade this offseason. But I've heard the sticking point was THT. Nothing else. It wasn't about, oh, well, they turned him down. Because, Skip, think about what you've already given up. You bringing Kyle Lowry back to do what? And you say, well, we feel good. I read a report reading on somewhere where they said we feel real comfortable that we'll be able to sign and trade Kyle Lowry. You brought him back to sign and trade him? No, you could have gotten assets, but you also wanted, you say, well, this is what we want. It didn't happen. So I'm glad the Lakers, because I like THT. I think he can be a really good player for the Lakers.
There's an old cliche in sports. Sometimes the best trade is the one you don't make.
It is true.
And I told you yesterday, I first guessed this. This was a bad idea. And I was pleasantly surprised for your side that you didn't pull this trigger because you were trying hard to make this happen. It was desperation. I think it would have undercut whatever chance you did have to win it all, come back-to-back this year. And I told you yesterday that I've never gotten Kyle Lowry. I don't disrespect him. I have some respect, but he's 6 feet tall, and he's 35 years old as of yesterday. And he has made six All-Star teams, but he averages for his career 15, 4, and 6.
Well, Skip, we've gotten spoiled with all these other great point guards from Steph Curry to Dame to Russ and Kyrie. So we look at him like, yeah, he's blah. These other guys giving you 25, 30 on a nightly basis.
Okay, is he a little pit bull of a baller from North Philadelphia? You better believe he is. Is he the heart and soul of that franchise? Is he the most beloved Raptor in Raptor history?
Yes.
Unless you threw out Vince Carter. I don't know, but just
DeMar DeRozan was safe.
He was up there, but Kyle, just on duration, on longevity, has taken over as the #1 Raptor. Well, guess what? The Raptors are 18 and 24. They're what, 2.5 games out of the playoffs.
Right.
Well, he's having his numbers-wise, he's actually having his career year.
Yeah.
And what's happening? They're one of the top 3 disappointments in pro basketball,
True.
right?
Yes.
So how is he going to change the face of the Lakers? Because there are nights with Schroeder and KCP, and obviously when LeBron and AD are healthy, they look good. And the mix and the flow with Schroeder and LeBron was much better than I thought it would be immediately, because Schroeder came in with low to no ego because he had mostly been a 6th man.
Right.
And he did demand to start, and I was a little taken aback by that, but he backed it up because he blended with LeBron. He actually deferred to LeBron right away to the point that he and LeBron meshed. And it works pretty well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Kyle Lowry and LeBron would mesh. I'm just not sure about that because Kyle Lowry wants the ball in his hands, I'd say a lot more than Schroeder needs to have the ball in his hands. So the point is, I thought it was a bad idea from the start, and it was desperate just because you're not sure when you're going to get LeBron back. I think you're not sure if you're going to get AD back this year. I think that's still up for grabs because it's involving the Achilles tendon, right? Okay, so in the end, I don't know what Masai Ujiri is doing in Toronto, but he was just sort of sitting back thinking, I got the ultimate asset on this trade deadline market, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have to knock my socks off. And maybe that was the sticking point. We just know there was one report, for what it's worth, that THT was in the package.
Right.
You say you hear no.
I heard no.
Okay, maybe that was the sticking point there. Obviously, Philadelphia, there were reports early yesterday that they were nearing a deal with Philadelphia, who wound up with George Hill. I'm not a George Hill guy. I've told you that from the start.
Let me ask you this. Why wouldn't, if you want to get rid of Kyle Lowry, why wouldn't you take KCP, Schroeder, and THT for Kyle Lowry?
Well, is he in or out of the pack? If he's in the package, now you're really shocking me because you should take that deal.
That's my point.
Yes.
That's my point. Masai Ujiri turned that down.
I guess so.
No.
Well, maybe he has an overinflated opinion of Kyle Lowry because I don't.
He couldn't have an overinflated because he tried to trade him.
But it's clear they're near starting over. They're about to start completely over because they sent Norman Powell to Portland. So, okay, now what?
Skip, I think the thing is they're hoping that these teams that say, well, you know what, we might be a piece away, get desperate and just give you a Herschel Walker type deal.
Okay.
And the Lakers like, no.
I have no idea what Philly offered for Kyle Lowry, but he would have been a much better fit in Philly than he would have been in L.A. because he's from there. Went to high school, played in college at Villanova out on the main line. So it's in his blood. And you want to talk about heart and soul, those Sixer fans would have embraced him.
Skip, but I'm surprised that there was just this much swell for Kyle Lowry. Skip, remember he was a free agent just a couple of years ago. And the market said, no, go back to Toronto.
Yep.
So I'm surprised. It wasn't like nobody offered him a 4-year deal. Nobody offered him a 5-year deal. He went back on a 2-year deal to Toronto. And now all of a sudden, 2 years later, he's 2 years older.
Yep.
And people are like, oh, we got to have Kyle Lowry as the missing ingredient. To what cake? To what dish?
Okay. So now you're faced with the larger issue. You've got the buyout market.
Yes.
And you're still fixated on...
That was on Skip. For me, I always thought that was going to be because they didn't really have any assets to be able to trade.
Okay.
They don't have first-round picks. They don't have... So basically, you got Kyle Kuzma, you got KCP, you got Schroeder. Maybe Trez. But really, except with that, that's really the only pieces that you have. Obviously, AD and Brown are untouchable. So... And after you watch these guys play, Skip, do you really think... I mean, you watched them over since LeBron has been out? Come on.
Okay. So is it Andre Drummond or bust for you?
Well, I would like to have Andre Drummond, but there's a lot of people bidding for Andre Drummond. And does he take, hey, look, I'm never going to tell a guy to take less money. You got to, what's important to you? He did sign a 5-year deal, 127, I think, in 2016, Skip. he's made good money, but you could never make enough money. So if he values money, go to the highest bidder.
It would be the Knicks.
Yeah.
Because they can bid the highest.
They can bid the highest. Whiteside, haven't heard anything about him on the buyout market. JaVale McGee got traded to the Nuggets. Maybe they'll be in on the LaMarcus Aldridge, but the buyout market was always the way the Lakers were going to be headed. They weren't going to be able to do a whole lot.
So
trading.
I'm surprised by your reaction to Andre Drummond today, because yesterday you were